power outage in Bloom, did it affect? So let's go ahead and get started.
So you can turn your mic on there.
Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you, man. It shows 6:30 right now. And this is a notice of special meeting. City Council, the City of Lyle, Texas will meet in a special session on Monday, August 21st, 2023 at the Lyle City Hall at 6:30. The agenda is to consider and act upon fiscal year 23 to 24 proposed budget. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lynette. Let's go ahead and go over what we actually have with the council.
All right, council, I sent, or Paula had sent out a budget on Friday, but there's been a little bit of tweaking that I've done to it, and I'll show it to you, I've highlighted, and I've also added salary information in the packages that you have in front of you, okay? Which was not part of the original that was sent out to.
Lynette, can you give me a second?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I forgot to do one thing. Let's go ahead and do the roll call.
District 2, Alderman Richard Hughes.
Present.
District 3, Alderman David Emery.
Present.
District 4, Alderman Michael Rodriguez.
Here.
District 5, Alderman Charles Pate.
Here.
And District 1, Alderman Miguel Jerry Simon.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that, Lynette. Thank you, Paula.
So the first couple of pages is just the normal that we have to have on there, so we can kind of fast forward through all of that. Target counts, all the new positions were updated on that as well, of how many people will be in those. Tax rates, we built the budget based upon the 0.3883. They, of course, we'll get through the budget and then we'll do the adoption in the future, but based upon the 3883. Okay, so going into the fund recap, page 6 of the handout that I gave y'all. We're going to be right at the $15 million budget for the year. And that still includes some of the capital projects from the bond that we had from last year that'll be carried over.
But then why don't we have a capital improvement fund?
That's something that I would like to do. I would like to have a complete different budget for capital funds. I can do one. It's not a big deal for that.
I mean, the
Right
reason I
now,
asked is because, it's reflecting, water and sewer, right? The
Mhm.
CO is throwing that off, it's skewering and making it look like we're actually having more revenue than we do in those.
No, I can change that. Just trying to follow the pattern kind of what we had in the last couple of years, but if everybody's okay with that, I'm fine to do that.
Council? You guys okay with that?
What is it that you're asking for?
It's kind of like a capital, your own capital budget altogether. So like Charles is saying, it looks like we're making a whole lot more money than we really are. We really can't get a good idea of what's happening in their financial.
So you would just break it out?
It would be a completely different, it would be a capital,
Fine with that.
yeah, a CapEx budget.
I mean, so it's gonna be the next decade that we're gonna have capital
Yeah, it's not gonna
projects.
stop.
It's not gonna be anything new. We're probably looking to do something every year from here on out. So I think it might clarify things for people.
I can do that. All right, if we go to the next page, it's the exact same thing, nothing was changed from what you saw before. If you want to look over that real quick, and you have any questions, you can ask me.
Okay, everybody good? Okay. Page 8.
Next page over, there were no changes in that either. From the original one that I had sent and presented on the first budget round.
Actually, I'm sorry when that is that previous page, I did have a question. You know, for that ad valorem taxes, our collection rate up to the 27th of July was 92.5%. And in my experience, that's pretty much what you're gonna get. Like, that's a good collection rate, and then that remaining 7.5%, like, that's what goes into legal taxes, you know? So I guess we're budgeting for $1 million, for next year. Is that the total taxable value of that? That's 100% of what we can collect, or?
No, that's the percentage. Andrew and I actually took it to 1.2.
Yeah. I mean, so
So we dropped it down just a little bit to take into consideration the non-pay, refunds, everything, so.
there's Andrew from Samco.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
What is your thoughts? Oh,
Understand, you know, 92.5% of 1.2 is 1,110,000.
So I did budget low, and that's something that, because I'm still speculating on a lot of things, we did go low on some of the numbers, on the revenues. And I do think we will bring in more, but I would rather be low than high.
And I guess the other item that I had on there was, what two other items? The city sales tax, we were budgeting 1.5 for the coming fiscal year.
Yes, sir. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just going off of what we have so far, and what we had budgeted previously was 1,554,000, and then we were only at 67.5% through that. So, I mean, I don't know who else is coming in the next year to collect an additional sales tax.
In the next, well, if we got strikes coming in, taking that into consideration.
Okay.
If Rafiq is correct, and he is gonna have the truck stop up and going by November, we should see something by the second quarter of next year.
Yeah, for this year, also council, just as a reminder, one of our busiest timeframes that we bring tax revenue is in the next coming months, especially in September when we get into the hunters area. We get a lot of people that come in here, and there's a lot of expenditures that happen in the month. So we'll get a pretty good, don't know whether we'll get where we need to be there, but I know there's a good amount of sales tax that is generated.
I can't remember the exact number, I wanna say it was 154,000 that just booked into the account, that I haven't put in the system yet. But we did have a pretty good month this last month.
These next few months.
And then one other item was, what?
So wait a minute, did you think I was low or high?
I mean, I hope you're right on the money, right? I hope that we're collecting that.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think we're safe at that number, I'm trying to go with safe numbers.
Mr. Kate, I added up, if you go back to the comptroller's website, I added up October through where we were, and we would be right on track. If we brought in, on average, what we brought in the previous September, we'd be right at the 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, the months that we were missing, was August and September.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to that remaining 500,000 that we have, the budget remaining, how we're gonna get there next year.
I think we'll get it. I'll add them up.
So, and then the other question I had from that was.
Remember that 504 was 2 months ago when I first built this original. So there's 2 months not built into here. So I probably have 300,000 needs to be put in.
Okay, well, I mean, what this top of that column says, year to date, July 27th.
I don't remember when. Yeah.
1,049,700.
So I don't, I'd have to go back and look to see if I had booked July in there yet. So you could have July and August out of there. I can look real quick if you want. But I'm pretty sure the 1.5, I'm very comfortable with that number.
And the other question I have is, what is that other income, other tax receivable item on there?
Other income was kind of used as a wild card for many years. So if we had taxes that came in that had to get paid, prior, in the past, they would book it there. It could be anything from donations to, I mean, it was just a wild card. It was anything that was in there. So that's why we took it down. I wanted to make sure that everything had a home. Because what would happen at the end of the year during audit is that I would have to go and break out that 50-something thousand to make sure it had a home. So instead of doing that and taking my time at the end of the year, we're trying to get it where we put it in the home in the very beginning. That's why I dropped it down so far.
Yeah.
But it could be like a lot of the refunds to the community center, a lot of refunds to the park, I mean, it was all over, it could be anything.
So it was a catch-all.
It was, exactly. It could be refunds, it could be credits, it could be debits, it just depended what needed to be done.
So what you're saying is that 50,000 has been properly classified now, and it's being in its
It's
respective
going
fund?
to be classified. I have not did all the reclasses yet, but in the new year, I want to not have to do that. So we're trying to make everything have a home. So we went through it and looked at it and said, well, this can go here, or this should go here, and we're just trying to make general ledger accounts to actually capture it correctly.
How many items were misclassified?
I wouldn't say it was misclassified, it was more of like refunds to, oh, you're gonna ask that, I can't remember. Do you remember anything, Matt, that we?
So it caught a lot of refunds to the community center, where realistically, we should show that under the community center as an income, right? We're showing income, but we're showing the expense of returning of those deposits. I had a question on that too, because it had a lot of just, it was like like I said, the catch-all. If you didn't know where it belonged, you just put it right there. So that's where I asked them to go back in and work through trying to figure out where they belong. Because to me, when you're doing budget, I don't like miscellaneous because it's right. Everything should fit somewhere in your budget. Go find a place for it. So when we look at it and try to fix these expenses, we try to put everything in a home where it actually should belong. And we hope to, before the end of September, do budget amendments and show you that line item is going to come down because we reclassified that stuff and put it where it should belong.
Just trying to be more specific for it, instead of writing it out at the end of the year, Charles.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, I see on their community center deposit refunds, is that what you're talking about?
Sometimes.
Jumping ahead to page
Yeah.
15.
We kind of created a new account to capture it where
I
it
mean,
belongs.
that's $8,500 and this is 50,000.
It was a little bit of everything.
So one of the bigger things that would go in there, Charles, is that, like, they were taking on the fire department donations too. They were taking any kind of refunds that would go to utility departments in there. It was a catch-all for everything, and then I had to reclass it.
What are you saying it's done now? Will be.
It will be done, and I don't want it done like that.
And I know you brought up budget amendments, Matt. I guess my next question would be, why are we doing the monthly if necessary? Why are we waiting to the end of the year for the amendments?
Honestly, I have not had time. That is the biggest reason. It's hard for me to even get through the month right now.
Thank you. Got next page. Okay.
All right. That's the contingent, well, no, did we finish out GA? No. So did y'all have a question on the other part of general administrative part, on the expenses? On that last page, Matt had came in today and we decided to but put a new GL code in for something called grant canceling instead of tourism promotion, to make it where it's not as complicated. That grant counseling is something that he's going to talk to y'all about in the next council meeting, but it's a service that has been offered to us.
It's gonna be grant consultants, not counseling. It's not counseling, it's consultants.
So what is tourism?
Tourist promotion is monies that are paid out from our hot tax.
Oh, it's listed as an expense.
Yes.
Monies paid out by our hot tax.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you see further up, we have,
Was there any changes on this one from the workshop?
Just the two of the
The yellow ones?
the other ones, yes.
Okay.
just to me, when I read it as tourism promotion and then further up the budget, economic development fees, I read both of those as potentially being hot tax money going to the same firm. And it's not. We need to separate those. This firm that potentially we're gonna hire if we approve this budget that we're looking at moving forward. Because they're gonna do both tourism promotion and economic development for the city, as well as consulting and lobbying for the city when it comes to grants. We can split their costs. Half their time is gonna be spent on economic development promotions in that of the city, and the other half doing that. So we're splitting their total cost. Some out of tourism promotion money, and then some out of general fund money.
This is the same thing you talked to us before
Yes.
about, right? Nothing different. Okay.
Why the increase in attorney and legal fees from 93,750 to 200,000?
We have a lot of different ordinances coming in, a lot of different things that we're looking at, a lot of new building. It was something that based upon, everything that's going to be happening, might as well over budget than under budget. And
Well, for 200,000, I mean, my question is, why are we not having a full-time attorney here in the building and a paralegal for that amount, $200,000?
I'm okay with that. That would be for council.
I think the representation that we actually have from having the group that we have, we get a little bit of everything. We have an expertise in every particular area that we have. So, and from the cost that they're charging us, I mean, it's $100, at least $100 less than what we were paying before, when we had a single attorney. So, so it works out better for us, in a sense of just being able to do that.
How we're, right now, based off these numbers, we are 53,000 over what we budgeted, 52,799.19 in attorney and legal fees. And we had budgeted for 93,750.
For the current fiscal year you're talking about, correct?
That's correct.
We'll have to budget amendment.
So, again, my question is, why not have somebody in-house?
If council wants us to look at that, we can see what that total cost would be.
So we're going back, if we go back, this is nothing new, council. If we go back in previous years, we had actually had budgeted in around 50,000 on there. And in previous years, we actually ended up at 121,000. So we've had in previous occasions had over budgeted, in a sense of the costs that go along with that.
What year was that, Mayor?
That was, the last one was in 2020.
So,
You have in front of it.
COVID was in full effect.
Once again, we've had it, and we've had it before where we had,
What
The
was it,
over-budgeted.
what was it in 2019?
we would need to pull that out. But I can tell you in the past, we've actually, from the time that I've been in the council, every year we actually have to go ahead and make adjustments at the end of the year because we actually spend more than what was budgeted.
What would you attribute that to, Mayor?
Costs, things that actually come up with.
Well, I mean, why are you going so far with budget, you think?
I think it's just work. I mean, the things that we have.
I mean, what work in particular, bro?
Charles, once again, you gotta look in the past and what we were paying. An hour before, it would cost us $350 just to go ahead and get something reviewed. Right now, it's costing us with our normal attorneys $230 an hour. And the same thing, even if we go with the highest paid attorney based on the experience, it's only $250. Previous attorney was actually charging us $350 an hour. So,
The previous attorney was actually charging a flat rate for 40 years, 38 years.
$350.
He was charging a flat rate to come to the council meetings.
I'm
That's
telling-
not, I mean, that's besides the point. You can, talk about that at some other time. But my question for staff is why, not have a full-time city attorney?
We can look into that if that's what council would like. We just built a budget on the normal ways we've always operated. We can look at other options if council so wishes.
I think we can get, somebody here every single day, walk over to their office. No need to return phone calls or anything like that. You just go knock on the door.
The advantage I see to having the firm that we have now is the depth of experience they give us. As far as the different departments that they have, and each one of those has an expertise. Not only that, but because they do work with multiple cities and a lot of them similar in size to ours, they've already fought the battle on a lot of the issues we take to them. And it's not reinventing the wheel. It's something that's gone through and it works and it's proven and it's tested, and they adapt it to us and we move along. So I like that depth of experience and just what they have to
And it
offer.
gives us the flexibility. I mean, even in the last 2 years, we've had situations, where they came through just like you're talking about, where in the previous times, like when we had a PID, we had to go ahead and get somebody to help us out to be able to take care of some of those things that are going along with that, along with if it was a personnel issue or something that went along with that. So I think who we have right now has been working out really good for us, has been taking care of the needs that we have. We can go one place and then pretty much they help us out based on the depth that we actually have. But it's just like Matt said, and Lynette said, we can put it on the agenda in the future for a discussion for the council to go ahead and do that. And we can do that in the future if we think that's the most appropriate thing to do. But for right now, we're just gonna go ahead and take a look at the budget.
So again, $200,000 I think is high.
That's your opinion.
I mean, it's an increase of over $100,000. It's double than it.
We in previous attorney, we actually doubled also. We
Oh,
started off 45, 50,000 and we doubled. So,
And that's just not true.
and there's costs that go along with that. We've actually had different things that have popped up even this year that actually has come back and cost the city to go ahead and pay for legal reviews and things that go along with that. So,
To say to bring in one person to work in-house and have the expertise required, I think it's gonna be more expensive when we have to branch out. We have to use other legal services. Because you're gonna have to bring in a lawyer that not only has experience in all the facets, but is gonna be willing to work at whatever salary it is we're gonna give them. I think by having this group that we have currently, like David said, we have a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge that we can brush off and get.
And we're paying a premium for that.
Right, that's true, but if we don't use it, we're not paying. It seems to me like we've had to pay more out because we've required.
So let me give you some examples of issues that have come up here in the recent that we had to go ahead and deal with. Recommendation that was brought up in front of us of creating a message board, and it was brought up for the council because we had to get legal to get involved with that. That was about $890 that we had to pay to go ahead and look into that. When it was brought up about looking at our property, a particular property and doing some research, that was $690 that we had to pay legal. When we were dealing with the files and getting our files returned from our city attorney, previous city attorney, we spent $1,396 in legal fees just trying to go ahead and take care of that. And those are just some of the things that popped up that weren't expected on there. Those are just some examples where some of the additional costs. And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to stay focused on what we're doing and try to minimize some of those things. So
And that goes back to my original statement, if we had, sorry, that goes back to my original statement, if we had kept the current attorney, the current firm at just using the bare minimal, I think the cost would have been a lot lower, right? I mean, that's basically what I'm hearing. But because we've had to use them.
That was them, I was using minimum.
Right. But then, that's what I'm saying, if we bring in somebody in-house, we're gonna expect for them to have that knowledge, to have that skill set, to be able to pursue everything we're asking them. And I don't think that would happen, he would have to, or that person would have to branch out to get assistance. So by having this firm, we kind of have the whole warehouse.
Aren't they having to branch out in-house? They gotta go talk to somebody else because one person only specializes in one thing, so
Right.
they don't know, so hey, I'm not familiar in real estate, I'm not, familiar in, water acquisition.
I
So
agree.
they gotta go talk to them. If you
I
have
agree.
somebody who's well-rounded.
And we're paying by the hour.
No, I'm talking about paying somebody as a salary.
Right,
Salary
but that
for an
person,
attorney.
what I'm getting at is that person would still collect their salary, plus we would have to go branch out and get the expertise from another branch, from another law firm. And we still have to pay his salary.
Not with the right hire.
That's kind of, I mean, you're asking a lot.
So
Not only that, but I mean, to be
Anyways.
able to come into Lido.
So your point is noted, Charles, and we'll go ahead and then put it on the agenda. If you want to submit an agenda item for the next meeting or whenever you want to, we'll go ahead and put it on there. Right now, we're just go ahead and discussing the amounts on the budget and we'll go ahead and press on that one. So council, is there any other issues about the 200 on there that we need to discuss? Okay.
All right, yeah, I've got questions. City council meeting supplies, we didn't budget anything, and yet 1651, and we're doubling that.
So that was a new line item that we were putting in this year to cover for drinks, food, anything that we need here, in here. So we're just trying to capture that cost on a separate line item.
Does this cover like copies and things that you guys do? So, yeah.
Anything that has to be bought, pretty much on the Paula's card for the meetings. And it could be proclamation stuff, and it could be anything that she needs for the council meeting that night.
So office supplies, that's $6,500 over what we had budgeted. 2 lines down. So where do the copies fall in? I mean, the city council meeting supplies, that's just for stuff for our meetings.
Yes.
Okay.
So the office supplies, I'd have to go and look why that was so high. I can't remember off the top of my head what's in,
Yeah.
but it wasn't something when I looked it up that I was concerned about, that's why it's dropped down to 5.
Office technology,
Office technology can be anything that Frontera goes in there, any of their costs that goes through.
We've had to obtain some computers,
Yeah, it could be anything about that.
laptops. I mean, we've actually lost some computers in here.
So when I look at office technology, I look at the capital account, and that's in the service account.
For clarification, when I say lost, not lost, in other words, they went down.
They went down, they broke.
They went down, so we had to replace.
We're having to buy a new server. Our server is at capacity and we're having to, Frontier's having to dump stuff off of our server. So that way our encode software can do its updates that it needs to overnight. So the software runs appropriately. Our server's just outdated and at capacity. So we've actually already placed the order for a new one and waiting for it to come in. Without it, we won't continue to be able to operate, unfortunately. We were actually shut down for a few hours one day while they were dumping stuff and getting the upload to tape.
$12,000 more than what we had budgeted up to the end of July. On that item. Economic development fees, previously it was $5,525. Next year, we're budgeting $33,000.
That's what we're trying to bring on that farm.
Okay, so we're on page 9 now?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that correct? Okay, so we're on page 9, Councilman.
That's a firm that Matt will talk to you about the next week. To see if y'all are interested, but I went ahead and put it in there, just in case it does get adopted.
Chamber of Commerce expense.
That's the approval that we got when we, approved for the employee and, solicitation over at the Chamber of Commerce in the Shops 11.
Is that employee still down?
Not at this time, but she has started again. We have a new one.
But that was on a yearly.
That's a year, yeah. We're anticipating the renewal of that. If we don't renew it, it frees up that money. If we don't hire this consulting firm, it frees up all that money. We're
That's gonna come
anticipating
before the
potential,
council.
yes,
That'll come.
yes, yeah, that's all that's coming before the council.
So the contract that we have with the Chamber of Commerce, they're responsible for hiring that person?
They do everything. We split 50% of their cost as long as it meets the criteria of the contract that we have with them.
They're on their payroll if that's what you're asking.
And that's an annual
Yes,
contract?
It's just a flat fee for us per month. Depending, well, they do side cuts. They send in a itemized sheet and we see what can be written off by hot tax. The way, what I can reimburse.
Well, I'm just curious, if we paid them and someone was down there for fulfilling their time,
We have not paid them within, since June.
when they stopped operation down there, we stopped paying.
Yes.
They've since restarted the operation.
Within
we
the last,
started paying.
2 weeks since she just now started.
just make sure we're getting our money's worth.
It's being looked at. Ruben, I know, has been down there. Matt went and visited to see what they're doing. We're, they're looking into it.
My understanding, that was about a third of the actual cost for it. The 30,
Yeah,
33.
it may run $1,200 to $1,500 a month, depending on what they're buying
Yeah,
at the time.
that's what I remember.
Emergency management expense, we spent close to 10,000. What's the need for a $60,000 item there?
So currently, we've got on order right now, a radio, a new siren, and a new decoder for the siren to be placed over at the sewer plant. I'm trying to get a cost for a new, get it come from outside a pole. And then once that's done, we'll have the install of that new siren and add another siren to our system. And then it's in our current year's budget. In this budget here, we're looking at the potential of adding another siren in potentially Rosewood, or at least buying the equipment for it. And then once that is completed, we can install that over there as well.
Our siren system is not designed for the growth we're having over there, so it's critical that we,
Enhance what we have.
So that siren's gonna go on the water tower, elevated storage tank?
The next one is gonna be over at the wastewater treatment.
Yeah, we're at the wastewater treatment plant on a telephone pole that's 35 foot up in the ground. We'll set it on that.
About Rosewood.
In Rosewood, I don't know if it'll go on the tank or if we set it on another utility pole somewhere over there. We'll have to figure out where we can place it and then the type of mounts we buy from there.
the tank would be awesome.
Yeah, the tank would be,
Stormwater utility expense, 103,000, 80,000 more than what we have.
that's still the remainder of the contract we have with Kimley Horn to finish out
That's,
subdivision. Let's say Saddle Ridge, but it's
now
not.
you're doing Lakeshore?
Lakeshore, yes. That's the remainder of what they contract, which I'll approve their contract for, the total amount, no, sorry, the 225, let's say. And then what they've billed us so far this year, that's the remainder of what's left in that contract that they still have authorized to spend.
Ambulance building, doubling the expense on that.
They have a lot of repairs over there. We're gonna try to get some done. James got to go fix a couple of plumbing leaks. They have a front door that leaks. Their bay door where the ambulance backs into, apparently years ago, I don't know who was hired by the city, but a contractor or someone was hired to enclose that and add air conditioning to where the ambulance sits, because the drugs and everything inside of it have to stay temperature controlled. Unfortunately, they didn't really seal it. So there's a large opening, so that AC runs 24/7 nonstop to try to keep it at 85-ish. So we need to call somebody in to look at how to properly seal that so we're not just losing air conditioning. And then they have some other leaks and items that need to be addressed.
They're storing drugs and medicine back there.
Well, they're called drugs, they're medications, but they are drugs that an ambulance carries.
And then the tourism promotion, we spent $252 to promote the city the past year.
No, that's actually a miscode that I've got to take out of there. So,
Yeah, I'm just curious, why is that so low?
Well, we should have something at tourism promotion because we purchased a bunch of the magazines.
right. So So we'll have a little bit after we do the transfer, so.
And then we're dropping that, down to 33 from 90.
Yes, well, that was typically your hot tax money that always went out. So now we've actually got some coming out in, or was it $35,000 for the chamber, and then another 33 to the economic development expense that we're gonna use the firm for, potentially, if y'all approve.
Okay. Page number 10, let's go ahead and move on.
10 reflects the salaries for the upcoming year on the proposed salaries. If you want to take a look at that, that was not part of I had just finished these. You can read over them real quick and have any questions from that one.
Any questions on that? Any changes from the last that was presented?
No, sir.
Okay.
Why the $6,000 raise for the municipal judge? Municipal judge going from 20,000
Hang on,
to
sir.
64.
I'm not on that page.
That-
I'm on page
That's
10.
that's page 10. That's the expense for municipal judge.
We haven't gone over the court expenses yet. I think you're ahead of me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you added that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to page 11.
Page 11 is going to be the court expenses. So we have broken out, this is gonna be a brand new fund all by itself. So, you will see, how I've got the revenues in there, salaries, and then of course the expenses. It's kind of self-explanatory.
So to answer on the municipal judge, we went from 1 court date a month to 2 court dates a month now. So we've doubled the amount of work he's doing. Currently, we have so before we never had a contract with our municipal court judge. So we will have one in the coming year. It's legal being reviewed and actually spells out everything. And the salary is, of course, his salary is going to be determined based off of what y'all approve in the budget. This is how it's worded.
Yeah, on the next page, I see him actually 28,204.
So I have asked if we had a contract with him, and I could not find anything. Paula went back as far as she could, we could not find anything on that. In the past, for as many years as Jerry's been here, he has always been on payroll as a part-time employee. That is one, so because of that, he gets FICA taken out, so I have to account for that. Now, if he's gonna be a contract employee, we can pay him just like we do with the brush hauler, the lawn guy, everything. I just need direction from the council on how we want to do that based on the contract that Matt just talked about.
We kept it as, he's appointed by council in October, you'll appoint in October the municipal court judge and associate judge. He's got some ideas in lieu of an associate judge, some other options potentially, but it won't change how much we budget in that line item. That's how the council wants to move forward.
And that's in October?
Yeah, we have to, they're appointed with every budget year.
I thought they appointed with the mayor's term.
With the mayor, I thought it was with the budget. 'cause
No,
that's
I'm pretty
otherwise-
sure they're appointed with a 2-year term concurrent with the mayor.
Okay,
I'll look at that.
well, let's take a look at
I thought it
that,
was
and then
the
we'll
budget.
figure out, see what we need to do.
That could change the FICA on the next page, depending on what direction you want to tell us. to go.
Any questions on
Any
number?
questions on the expense?
number 11?
On the one sheet?
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to number 12.
That's the breakout. That's the explanations that I put in there at the bottom.
Any questions on number 12?
Well, I know we have a retirement coming in the court, and you're going to add a new court clerk.
Yes, sir.
So the salary for the new court clerk will be lower than the retired court clerk.
The court clerk one is the current one that we would have still here.
Mhm.
And the new court clerk is going to be a little bit lower. So, I have it broken out here. they'll start at 16 to 16.50 an hour, depending on that cushion there, because the reason I put that extra, new salary in there from 33 to 34 to give Matt and I a little bit of cushion to hire.
Okay. But overall, from the current year, it'd be a little bit lower next year because you're not paying a high tenure salary
Yes,
person.
right, we did drop like $4,000,
Okay, that was my question.
yes, overall, for $4,000.
Right.
And that's gonna be based on certifications.
Yes, sir, for hopefully to get the court ones.
Good on 12? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to 13 and take a look at police.
Run through those, see if you have any questions.
One thing is, we broke stuff down to be more detailed where some of the money was going. So it's not, a lot of it's not gonna compare to last year's or any years, because we have these big areas that just went from, small amount to $25,000 or $30,000 because we kept adding different things as technology progressed, So it's broke down more. I didn't look at the total numbers, but I think basically the money was all about the same, right, or less in some areas.
Some areas we really cut it down.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing you guys did also was just create accounts, so it's a little bit easier, right? Rich?
Well,
Well, yeah, that's what I've been after for years, is trying to get it where an average person with no training should be able to look at their municipal government's budget and understand how much money gets spent on certain things. That's just my opinion. So that, we're working towards that, to where people can, see. That's what she did, is help us get towards that goal, and simpler for everybody.
Is that enough money for repairs and maintenance of vehicles?
Yes, because in the past, we were also paying our GPS system out of that as well. And so we moved it to the Samsara, to a different line item. So now that gives us, that gives us for the, of course, we deal with the same thing we all deal with in our homes. We've seen prices for everything skyrocket. So, but yes, we feel comfortable. Of course, the first time I tell you that, maybe the first time in years we'll have a snafu, but I think after, talking to Lynette, and we feel comfortable that we'll be okay.
Did you add any, positions?
No, not right now, because everything was pretty tight on that end. And since we're gonna be full staff for the first time with 10 officers, in a perfect world, if we had a lot of income, then we would go ahead and start planning to add positions for the growth. But I think it'd be premature at this point. It would be slightly premature. I'm hesitant on, how quick our development's gonna occur due to the interest rates. So, I think we're gonna have a little time to monitor a little closer.
So, I mean, is that what you're basing it off of? Homes being built out there?
Well, I'm basing-
Additional personnel?
At this point, that's our bit. We don't have any major commercial, and I say major, I mean your Home Depot, something like when HEB came in here. That changed our world, okay? We don't have any major commercial stuff. The truck stop is gonna pick up traffic, yes. But really where we're gonna see, I think, our biggest draw on resources is when you get 700-800 homes out there, because just going out to Saddle Ridge now with the homes that are there, it's a pretty good little patrol run, and people flag you down, and and when you're in the back of Saddle Ridge and you get a call in the back of Lakeshore, it's a pretty good run. But we will be monitoring very closely, and trust me, the minute I think we start getting in, I'll be talking to y'all if I think we have something. But I think the conservative thing to do right now is, go where we are. Not to mention, you could tell me today, we want you to add 4 positions, and that's almost like telling me, go win the lottery,
I mean, I think, being realistic with it, though, you're gonna have to start phasing in adding bodies.
We are, sir, yes.
You look at the time that it takes to hire somebody and find a good fit, because I know that you've been on the search, right, for a year.
It's a struggle we're all struggling with. Large cities, small cities, doesn't matter. But again, our biggest goal, biggest thing I'm looking at is our either major commercial growth indicators or your residential. And if I thought that this was gonna do what happened on Highway 90 out there a few years ago, where it's just like one day you drive by, there's dirt, and the next day there's big kids playing outside. But I don't think, stuff's not moving that quick. And that's just about, and I'm a little more conservative, you know, I've been through a lot of ups and downs, you know, from a self-employed background growing up, and I've seen economies come and go, and I don't want to put us out, you know, plan for something that may not happen as quick as we're anticipating. But I understand where you're coming from.
Any other questions on number 13, page 13? So I'm gonna move on to 14.
14 breaks out the budgets for, the salary budgets for T. Like Richie said, that is fully set.
Fully staffed, and we have no open positions right now.
That's anticipating match transfer. We would be fully staffed at 10 full-time positions.
Any questions?
Council? Okay. We're gonna move on to page 15, Park Service. And council, just for update, just to make sure as we're looking at that, we were looking in the future about maybe having a part-time split between code compliance and park. And after researching it and looking at it, it was determined to go ahead and keep them separate. Is that correct? And not bring in a second person to do both. In other words, code compliance is going to be a part-timer.
Yes,
Correct.
so potentially what we talked about before was hiring a full-time person that would split their time between code compliance and parks and be able to flex where they needed them the most, or where we needed them the most. But there's been some tweaks to the budget and we couldn't make it work. So we
So that's
kept we kept the part-time animal or part-time code compliance person like we've always had, but did not add to the parks position.
So that's why salary went down.
So I wanted to point that out on here, just so you have an idea.
So
And then consulting engineering from the previous budget, that was taken out. That was a one-time expense.
The 24,000, we had put that there, we didn't have anywhere to put it for parks and sidewalks. That's what that was. So-
Because I noticed it's not there.
Yeah, Beth and I talked about it, I don't think we have anything else coming in on parks and sidewalks, and I don't know if we're going to get to the engineering limit of 20,000 for new park equipment.
So take sidewalks out of it. The sidewalks are in streets, not in parks anymore. I don't believe there's anything that's gonna occur in parks that we're gonna need an engineer to review. We're not doing anything that big over there.
What is that little red triangle in the upper right-hand corner of some of those fields?
It just, if you're in Excel and you hover over it, it's notes for me to remind me what those were when I'm doing something.
So the one major one on there, Lynette,
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, that's where we're gonna go ahead and take care of that shed. Is
Yes,
that correct? The
Yes,
one
sir.
that,
so down there, of course, where that little triangle is, there is 17,000 put in there for the little league shed.
17,000, 17.
17.
17.
And that's gonna be our part, or is that the total part, the total cost?
Total cost. That was the quote we received. That was a quote that was sent to us by Parks. Of course, we'll go out and get our own when we determine, or not by Parks, by Little League. We'll determine,
Capital improvements on City Park,
Capital, yes, sir, it's in there.
what is that, Touch It?
I don't know what brand we'll go with. They sent me one. I think it was Tough Shed through them, but we'll have to see where we can get the best bang for our buck.
But it's a portable building,
It's a portable building shed.
approximately 240 square feet or something, right?
I'd have to look back and see if they sent me on an estimate. They sent me two.
Is it gonna be on a pad?
On a concrete pad?
Yeah, does 17 include a base or anything? Any kind of
It will set on the, I mean, it's set like a shed comes portable out. It already has skids and it'll just set on there. Kind of like what Chief bought for the PD. And then, we can put some
Right.
blocks down and set it on blocks.
Yours is what?
23 is my street.
I'm not sure we can get to there. We'll just have to-
We didn't get a roof. We're gonna get that next year.
But, I mean, we've had issues with break-ins at the park, right, to the bathroom, right? We're gonna be storing this little league equipment in a shed where we've had issues in the past. Your tough shed's in a fenced-in lot that's lit, and there's somebody there pretty much 24 hours a day with guns, right? So I guess my question is, as far as security, where's this thing gonna be at the park? You know, we're gonna spend $17,000 and put someone else's stuff in it, and it's gonna be safe?
Well, normally what we're gonna try to do is we try to get also police input before we start placing stuff. Because a lot of times people that don't have training in crime prevention will think, let's put it here because it's out of the way. But if it's out of the way, you know, it's easy. So we normally work with them on something like that, and we'll give our opinion. And at some point in time, you know, we'll probably have to look at some cameras for the park, you know.
I mean, here's a thought that the storage park is right next door to the park. What's the biggest storage thing they have, and how much does it cost to rent that a month?
However, the council, they asked for a storage shed, council said, let's move forward with the storage shed. That's what I don't disagree with you, I'm just,
We'll see. I just, you know, little Timmy wants to go get his catcher's mitt and stolen. It's gonna be a sad day.
I don't disagree with you, as well as they break into those storage units, unfortunately, all the time. But yeah, I do not disagree with you one bit.
Is it gonna have utilities and all that?
Nope.
No, this is gonna be just for storage, that's what they briefed us. That way they can have more room on the facility that has the utilities in there, they're using it for storage also. So this is so they could actually have a
I
little
guess-
bit more room.
When we revamped the park and redid the concession stand, it wasn't really built for storage. And Little League has changed their mode of operation and is now storing stuff there versus keeping it at someone's house. So they changed how they operated, and we're trying to accommodate the best we can. Perfect World would build a real nice big building that cost a lot of money and was really secure. We can keep money off this side and start saving if y'all want to do
Or
that.
if you're not gonna put utilities in it and you wanna save money, you just get a big 40-foot metal container.
Connex box.
Yeah.
You know, people don't break
You
in
can't
them.
move that, you can't, it's hard to get in it if it's just for storage.
I don't disagree with you.
So
You can get that.
yeah, so we have the opportunity, once again, we're putting on the budget, so we have some money that is available with that. I think, Matt, we still need to go back and look, PD will be involved to try to figure out what's the best on there, for us to go ahead and do that. The council did approve for us to go ahead and get a actual shed for them, so, that's where we're at. So if they come back and we need to change it up, or there's a difference, they'll come back to the council and go ahead and.
I think the issue about running the storage building, good idea, but it comes down to money, because Little League doesn't have the money. That's why they want us to foot the storage building and let them use it, so that would be free to them, courtesy of the city. If you tell them, go rent a unit, the city's not gonna pay rental on a storage unit for them. They're gonna have to come up with funds to pay for the storage unit.
And you personally know about the challenges that they have, right? So a shed would benefit them.
It would benefit them, but the concern will be they break into that.
So they're a separate organization of the city. That organization needs storage, and they're looking to the city to provide it. Realistically, they're not, you know what I mean? It's not our job to provide them storage because they're a separate entity, they're not a city. But if y'all choose to want to add facilities to our park that provide storage for them, that's how we'll move forward. If you tell me to look at a Connex box, I would say it needs to be painted so it doesn't eyesore over there, but I think that's probably a better investment, in my opinion.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because not only are we providing it, we're giving them somewhat of I guess the idea that the city is providing you this, and we don't want something that they're gonna break into.
Well, a Connex box definitely would be much safer.
Last turn here. The question I have is that it's not gonna be year round, it's only during the season, and then.
Year round, sir. Year round.
They're gonna have it year round.
Yeah, because parents are having to put stuff in their garage and take it out to the garage.
That's not good.
Equipment,
But then
everything.
again, each year you get a different set of parents, usually parents last 2 or 3 years. So it's gonna be year round.
We would provide I guess Connex, they would provide the lock and key for it.
I would recommend that. I think that'd be a lot safer. Right.
And I said, let them paint it too, let them decorate it.
It's a community service project.
Yeah.
There you go.
Actually, going back up, miscellaneous park equipment, you know, we spent $16.99. What was that purchase?
That could have been those hog clips or rakes or whoever, you know, we were doing some other maintenance over there.
I guess I'm bringing it up because if we're budgeting 5,000, we're supposed to be having some equipment for parks to be working with over there. I'm just curious as to why we're not spending that money if it's gonna help keep the park in good condition.
So miscellaneous, I mean, I can tell you Little League has approached me and we'll have to approach council. They want to change the design of the larger baseball field over there. So that way 2 different age groups could play on that one field. They could open it up and have some smaller kids playing on it and the field could work for that. I don't know quite what those costs are yet. I told them to get that together and then bring it back before council.
Matt and Lynette, is that where we were asking them to go fix coal mine and replace some of the equipment?
Well, that's just a general budget. We're talking about our park. This is all parks.
No, I'm with you, but I'm just saying because we're showing $16.99 for this year. So I'm just saying if we're gonna go get the stuff that we need for the coal mine park, is that gonna go into that area right there?
I can tell you, unless we're gonna buy one small swing, we're probably not gonna be able to buy commercial
I don't,
park equipment for coal mine for $5,000, I don't think. Nothing that's,
it depends what you
Probably
want
usable.
over there. And then Matt and I were talking about this yesterday or today, or I can't remember, but it just, and then of course, if we get to the part where we need engineers and, you know, I don't, that's something that we're.
No, but I think the initial one that we said, I think it was, they were gonna take a look at the rims and the net and all that.
the backboard and stuff, all that's been repaired.
Okay, so where did that actually go into in here?
Wherever they coded it into probably repairs and maintenance.
Okay.
So the park, when we say park, it's parks, not just one. All of our parks fall into this.
I can break it out if you want.
No, I'm just saying where the money, I mean, we talked about doing those things over at coal mine, so if we did, you know,
So
where,
there's repairs and maintenance, so it went down to 6710, so that 20,000 was used there.
okay,
I only have one more question. The uniform and cleaning, was that in consideration of 2 employees? Should that number be cut in half?
It should, it's,
Okay. Thank you.
So the repairs and parks maintenance, right? We spent $20,553.60, and we're dropping that down to $3,500 for repairs for next year.
I can't remember what we had in there. You remember, it was hard.
I mean, I think you're pretty close to what you budgeted for, though, the 25,000
Right.
previously. I'm curious as to, you know, if we have all these needs that are parks, and why are we basically cutting that by 90%?
Right. Because it was already just reminded me, that was a lot of the fencing from ours. That we have to.
For last year, there's some more fencing needs to be done.
that was fencing.
But as far as repairs for our other facilities, right, like upgrading stuff at coal mine or Veterans Park,
Or just replacing broken stuff, yes.
I mean, I feel like 3,500 is extremely low, and we already spent nearly what we budgeted last year.
I can move it up. Council tells me to, I will adjust it.
Well, you'll have a little bit of flexibility. I mean, council, it's up to you, but you will have flexibility. If we're already talking about differences in the sheds and the capital improvements, you're already gonna have some flexibility on that amount too, right? So,
I mean, even then last year we had budgeted for 11,000 in capital improvements and 25 in repairs, so it's 36. And now those 2 items is 23.5. So we're still 12.5 below what we budgeted last year for those. I mean, those costs are only going to increase. So I think that it's only realistic, the same if not more, 30,000 a year for repairs and maintenance. All that stuff's getting older, you know, it's breaking more frequently.
Just keep in mind, for everything I adjust, I have to take it somewhere else. Cause I'm at total zero right now. I'm balanced to the penny. So you tell me how much, and I can play with one around, but we have really taken this down to the minimum.
I mean, I can't see us going any lower than what we've already spent at 20,000. That's still a reduction, and I don't even want to do that, but to, drop that by
Can I have an
90%.
idea of what, kind of posts I can look at our costs?
Repairs. I mean, I guess it'd be good to have Wayne in here, the parts guy, like what's broken, what needs to be fixed over there. James probably has a good idea, Matt, everything is
Not
aging.
everything's broke. There's some issues over there. I know the Little League wanted to replace some more fencing and do more big repairs this year. But that's just not gonna happen in the budget.
So the park suffer.
I can tell you that's the number in your budget tonight.
Yeah, I just, as a resource for the city, diverting money from parks is never a good idea.
If we can find somewhere, another line item down the road, and we can
Yeah.
say, let's
I
put
mean-
it, let's put it over there, let's keep that in mind.
Did we divert, or did we just calculate last month or last year to add
Well-
additional funding for the fencing and everything
We
else?
took the fencing out of that, we had project had that in there, but, I would have to get some kind of idea of what the plan is for the park, so that we can actually budget for that, but again, it's gotta come from somewhere.
Hopping around, what is this lawn tractors park and the office technology park? Are those actual parks or proposed? Like,
Yeah,
what is that?
so Wayne wants a lawnmower for the park. But let's do this. Take that out. The lawnmower he has, we'll just keep fixing it. I don't know if any major repairs to it that he says is needed. So add that 4,500 in. Okay, let's do this. Drop your capital improvements on the park from 20,000 down to 15. That ought to be enough to buy a decent Connex box from somewhere used, I'm sure, right? Instead of
They're about
170.
$5,000 for.
Well, we actually can get some of those, and from the surplus.
Surplus, yeah. So hear me out real quick. If we drop that to 15,000, it gives us 5 to add into the 3,500 for the repairs and maintenance, takes us up to 8,500. We're overstated on uniforms and cleaning twice. It's just give that 900 and then add that into the repairs. Instead of any of the repairs and maintenance,
Okay.
so add another 900.
What about the lawn tractor?
Take that 4,500 out and add it into the repairs and maintenance as well. Where does that get us to?
Oh, to, not the capital improvements, the repairs and maintenance.
Repairs and maintenance, that's what we're trying to fix, right?
That puts you at 15, 14,900.
14.9 gets us a little closer than we were.
Okay, I can make
The only thing is keep the line item in there for the lawn tractors. Leave it at 0 right now, but leave the line item.
Yeah.
So we already have it inside the system for future use.
Where's all that electricity expense coming from over there at the park?
So the electricity, that's also the lights that are over there. We don't have like a street light item, geocode in there. What else is in there, sorry? Pretty much all street lights.
Those street lights.
That's street lights, the lights from the park,
lights.
Yeah, lights for the parks,
Yeah.
yeah.
not street lights.
So, I mean, park electrical expense, is that this past year, the first year that we adequately assessed the amount of electricity that we're spending in parks?
That's probably when I actually started breaking it out, yes, sir. Because it was kind of just jumbled around.
We're seeing that for the first time, a lot of places in the budget. We're actually seeing how much electricity the police department spends. We're actually getting a true picture that has made it very,
So
Good.
CPS actually breaks it out for us. So when Rosario and I see it, it actually says park now. And we've got 3 in the park we code, or 2? 3. We have 3 in the park now that we code. We've got both entrances and something else. What else do we have? I think overall park, like for our restrooms and all that. So streetlights and that part.
then, insurance part, what's these numbers here? for-
So we have workers' comp and we have insurance. They have to go, they get paid. So our, TML is our workers' comp and insurance carrier, and we actually broke it down piece by piece based upon, it goes by the job description and the employee and how many employees we have there. So you'll see your workers' comp has been broken out, and then you actually have the insurance on there, which could be, I can actually tell you if you want to see it.
Will that be lower with one employee instead of an employee and a half?
No, that's calculated on the,
Yeah, I've got it
Oh,
calculated in there.
but that's basically part of the overall.
No, you're good, you're good.
You don't see it, yeah, but no, I've got it broken right out to a T.
I'm just curious about these numbers and, those, both parks. Is that both parks?
Yes.
Three parts.
Yeah, both parks.
So,
I'm just looking this up that, since we're talking about this for budgetary purposes, that the average, operating expenditure per capita across the country is $94.77
four.
for parks. Yeah, so I know we're not getting there this year, but, we're way, we should be about $300,000 if we're on the national average.
Honestly, I really wish we could, I would love to do that park out, and I know if anybody on the council would disagree with that.
It's not just that park, it's all of parks,
Right.
right? It's acquiring additional park money. But I just tossed that out there because it also generates revenue. You also see a return on what you invest into your parks back into your city.
And I think that should be part of the 5-year plan. Let's get through these next 2 years of growth and go from there. And I know you're saying that the cost is going up, but I'm so tight right now, I just don't see how we could put more money into it.
We're about $190,000 under that national average.
So we will have a chance also, once again, Matt will brief us about a group that will be able to help us out with grants and different sources of funding in there to be able to offset some of those things. But once again, we'll talk about that once we get into the priorities. Any other questions on page 15? So we can go ahead and move on. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to 16. This is with the salary.
16 is our park salary. Again, take a note that we did take that one part-time position out to balance out the budget this year. Now, that is not saying that if revenues didn't come in higher, because I did base revenues on the minimum, that we couldn't go back in and elect something in 6 months. So keep that in mind.
Are we good?
What's the status on Wayne's employment? I heard that he was retiring.
He is not retiring. I've talked to him and he is not going to retire.
He's gonna ride it out. Okay.
He said he's staying.
Again, talking about employment, right?
Mhm.
National average, she had about 3 people in the parks. That's the national average.
Let's get these revenues up and then we can adjust it as we go.
Page number 17, street services.
So this is a new fund. We're breaking it out for other reasons of stuff that we have coming on the 5-year plan. Just kind of look over it, kind of have an idea. We currently have 1 employee that's allocated to streets or what would be streets in the long term. But it's gonna be kind of a public works mixture for a little bit.
Well, it'll stay under public works. Before this was mixed in with your parks department.
So is this a new position?
No, sir.
No.
This is a current public works employee. We're just breaking this out because eventually with our stormwater and all stuff that we have going in the back end, we are going to need this fund out there.
Got it. Thank you.
So stormwater is not gonna be its own fund?
It would, but we still have to be able to have a streets budget.
And it falls, talking to them, it falls into
Yeah.
streets.
So I had to do a huge breakout for that.
There will be, it's gonna fall on the streets.
I broke it out 2 streets right now because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll go on the how it'll finalize. but I wanted to leave it there to capture these costs for the future of the 5-year plan for us.
In talking with him, your stormwater drainage fund falls under streets because streets would handle any kind of stormwater drainage. They kind of go hand in hand.
Page 18. This is for the salary, and this is one of those salaries that we have to increase, correct?
Yes, sir, this is where we increase them for, try to normalize and try to get them kind of
The
legal
minimum?
with other cities. Which I think is a huge plus for the city to take care of our employees. And keep in mind, I build overtime in all these, so I can, kind of quantify for the FICA. But just because the overtime's in there, it doesn't always mean it's gonna be used. Now, in the public works, with James, I'm sure it will be used. I'll keep going, sorry.
Two more. There.
Any questions?
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to page number 19, the community center.
The community center is pretty self-explanatory, it's mostly our rental fees that are over there and the offsets of the expenses.
If we're planning to use that CD for repairs,
Yes, sir.
how long is that gonna take and how is it gonna impact our rentals?
That was in the planning stages of what we should be doing in this next year, but I don't think we've actually taken the steps towards that.
We haven't, so I'm building into the budget. Potentially, we can get TRC to come in, look at it, get us some cost estimates, and then we decide if we're gonna be able to push forward from there.
I definitely didn't want to not have it in the budget, so we could have something to go forward to, is that is the foundations over there. We've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And the roof.
that foundation probably needs to be repaired
And the roof,
since that place got built,
yeah, and the roof.
so.
At least it gets us somewhere to work with, on some of the started repairs, no matter who.
You know, I guess my point I'm making is if we're gonna be doing these repairs next year,
It reduces the income.
reduces the income in around.
Yes.
So I think it's ambitious. I think we should be renting it out every weekend. Should be renting it out right now. But, you know, the fact that we have to do these repairs and continue to rent it in the future is gonna be an issue.
I will say that we had increased our rentals almost 75%.
No, we don't have enough places around here for event space. So, you know, it's a nice venue, it's closed for a lot of people. So we have to do these repairs, but as far as being able to get that revenue in, it's gonna be difficult if there's a bunch of holes and things.
That's gonna be something after the engineers come in and then the contractors come in and say, how long may we be down?
And I would say 4 or 5 months, I'm talking about half the year possibly.
Well, depending on how much we do, I'm not sure we're gonna get as much done as we think, as much as I'd like to. Knowing at least the estimate I got already for the foundation,
I just don't know
By
how
the
much
time we had it.
59,000 is gonna take us.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is like, what is that gonna be able to accomplish?
I'm hoping we can get the foundation and the roof, to be honest with you. Then from there, we move forward. We've at
If
least
you get a
solidified
good
these.
company that does foundations, they can knock that building out after the engineering, right? We gotta do that, but we get a foundation within 2 weeks. They'll be down for 2 weeks. If you get a good foundation place, they can knock it out that quick. So the floor is a whole different cosmetic thing, but the foundation, leveling it off, no more than 2 weeks. You should be good at that.
So we'll know more after we start the beginning stages of that with the engineers and then of course they do. But at least we're.
Just make sure we don't do it during prom. We don't do it.
Wrong.
Yeah.
What is the slow time over there? It would be
We don't really have it
the
anymore.
fall would normally be the slow time.
The girls have it booked out almost every weekend. Like,
Oh.
people are coming in, we're having to turn them away because we don't have, it's booked, is it booked during the week too? A lot?
No,
just
Not as
weekends.
bad.
Just weekends.
So going down to the cost there, why are those engineering fees so high for repairs and maintenance on that? That's,
I'm gonna let.
I'm just estimating,
Yeah.
because
She brought that.
There's no telling.
I mean, but that's almost, that, the cost, that's like 60% of that dollar range should be closer to 20-25%.
I don't know what engineering gonna, but every time we get something with engineers, the price goes up, and the best part is if they say this is our task order to be the engineer for that project, and it's only 20, then that money drops back into the repair side of it.
It can go either way.
I mean, I would say, looking at spending no more than 30 on engineering fees on that thing, and that gives us another 29,000 to put towards repairs and maintenance.
I just seen how numbers have come in, just, I just threw it in there, worst case scenario, it comes out of that and goes back into the repair side, so we can get more repair stuff.
And then those two numbers, when you put them together, that equates
That
to
totals that
CD, right?
CD.
So whenever we
Well, a
capture
little bit over.
the
There's
CD, we
3,000.
should have an idea of what we're gonna execute, and we can move the money, right?
When somebody doing their due diligence, coming down here to do work, they're gonna look at engineering, hey, we're gonna charge you 59,000, this is what the city of Lytle's budgeted for this amount.
Doesn't mean it's what we're gonna pay. You
So
can,
why are we spending 60% of that?
We just honestly,
I just do a
split
number.
it out. We just split it out so we can have something there on both.
if I put 20 in there, then they would say it'd be 25, I mean,
The council tell me how much they want in there.
we use, our engineering firm is who we'll go to first, and if they
That's,
choose
I mean, when I
to.
read that, that's general engineering. I don't read that as foundation engineering
No.
or a particular, right?
I mean, the way I looked at it is that we could combine the two for that whole amount,
So,
for any repairs and stuff that we need. Of course, if we need to, we can,
but those were the only things that you made a change to from the workshop,
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay. Any other questions on that? I'll move on to the library. Cassandra, here you go. Page number 20.
so there was no changes at all from the last budget that I gave you. The only big, items in there is, Cassandra and I have a bet on when her air conditioning's gonna die. I give it 6 months.
So what are we budgeting for that in anticipation of the break?
Well, Mr. Bentley, when I had talked to him, he said it could be ordering 5,000 to 15,000, depending on what we want to put in it. So
Is that gonna fall in the capital improvements, or is that gonna fall into the repairs and maintenance?
that would be capital. So it could be a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. So I had taken, three of these would add up to that, to around 15 grand, if we had to.
So am I understanding this wrong, or are we obligated to one person?
No, we're not obligated to any one person.
And why is it that we're waiting for this and we're waiting for that?
Well, but we're not really waiting, he has already, like, for the animal control and for, the life.
He's servicing other parts of our city.
Yeah, he does that,
Okay,
but he.
but it
He's
sounded
been
like
out,
we're
he's
waiting.
fixed stuff, no, we are waiting, because he had to order parts,
Okay,
for Santi, and he had to order and fix some stuff for, Cassandra.
But I do think we've been waiting 2 weeks for City Hall for them to come for the service call here.
okay, but it's not,
We're not stuck with him, no,
Yes.
it's not a contract.
okay.
So last year we budgeted 18.5 for repairs, we've only spent 55. Are we setting any of that money aside for anticipation of stuff going out?
The only thing we had in there, I carried that 855 over, it was for the roof. I don't think that we're gonna spend that much this year. But yeah, unless I do an amendment, it will be a carryover.
No, I say the roof was at 19,652 up there. The capital, that you moved the capital improvements that we had budgeted out of the 18.5. I guess it just got moved into capital.
Cassandra, how many AC units do you have at the library?
Four, yeah.
There's the big one that services the new side, which was built in 2008. And then there's the two that was from the original build in 1974. And then there's the one in the back, which is 1989.
And they're all giving you problems, or just one? particular?
Just the two from 1974 because,
So we have two AC units from
well, I don't know
1974.
if they're 74, but
I was
that's
about
when,
to say, we got our money
that's
going.
where the part of the building that was. built.
Oh, okay, there ain't no way.
Yeah.
If so, buy those again.
I'll take those.
Yeah, what is the book, Cassandra? Is it the Ship of Theseus? It's like, is it even the original AC unit anymore that's there?
To be honest, I don't know what, because they were, when we added on or repaired in 1999, we did the, when we opened Bell up, I think they put new units in there.
I mean, still, you're looking, I mean, I think the average lifespan for an AC is like 10 years.
If it keeps up like this, it'll be a lot less than that.
You know, so we talk about 15 tops, right, to replace, that's just one?
Because they're side by side.
Yeah. It's gonna be, whatever, and, you know, can't go over there without AC, right?
The new part of the library work, the 2008, it stays cool all the time, for the most part. And then the back room, we only use it for meetings and summer reading program, things like that. But the middle area, that's where we do checkouts and the computers are at, that's where it gets warm. But the front door is right there, so every time they open that door, the hot air comes in and the cold air goes out.
So, the money that we have available right now, the 13,006 for repairs and maintenance, do we have anything set up for that, or is that just gonna go ahead and carry forward if we don't use that?
Well, that's what Mr. Bentley was getting us a quote on a new AC for this year.
So we were looking at that 13,000 helping out with the AC issue that she's having.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
Well, but I mean, we still gotta take into consideration, we still gotta do budget amendments, and we've got 19,000 into that capital improvements that actually had no light item built into it, that was for that roof. Potentially, that's why we built that 18.5 in, was for the replacement of that roof. So see what I'm saying? I mean, we really don't have 13,000 sitting there. That 19,000 has got put somewhere else.
Are you bound by network connections where you currently have the PCs, or can you look at reorganizing the library?
Well, I think it's all right there, like, and all the wiring runs through the
So all
top.
your network connections
Yeah,
are by
they
the
run
door?
through the,
they had about, was it 3-4 years ago, Cassandra, when you moved the computers forward?
2017, we moved the
Yeah.
computers, because they were on the other end of the library. Well, it was hard because people would be like, I need help, and they're yelling, and I'm like, shh, there's other people trying.
Right, but as far as comfort wise, it's
Right.
probably better.
It was cool
At
over
that
there.
point,
Right, but when we moved them this way, it was easier for us so that we didn't have to be running back and
yeah,
forth.
'cause I know it's expensive to reroute a lot of that stuff.
And they put poles and dropped it, the wire to the poles.
Why the drastic drop in, books for the library? Budgeting $1,000 for new books?
There's only 1,000?
We've spent close to 8. That's gonna get you 50
Yeah.
books.
I didn't see that, Cassandra. Uh-oh. I think we were gonna drop it to 10. Okay, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No, because we spent 79 this year. So, yeah, I've got to figure that out.
Yeah, you can go on Amazon right now and spend $1,000 on books.
Exactly, I already have a cart full of them.
So as far as like new releases, I mean, you of course probably have a schedule, right, a calendar of what's coming out. I mean, on average, how many books are you purchasing per year?
Every time I do an order, I do anywhere from 30 to 50 books, and I do orders for the city funds, and then we get county funds. So I use county funds to purchase books. So we meet every other month for the county, so I probably spend about $1,000 with the county money every other month.
About
So-
6,000 from the county. that you
It's
get.
about almost 7,000 from the county.
And then, so monthly on average, how many books would you say?
Probably 50.
About 600 books.
I mean, yeah, just take a look at 10, that's what you were shooting for
So
last
you're
time.
shooting for 10.
Yeah. just take a look at that.
And your ebooks, they're still doing good?
They're still doing good. We don't purchase any of them because they're too expensive to
You
get
get
into
the
that.
license.
So, yeah, so we are in with the state's free service because they offer a different service, but you have to buy into that program. And it's not really worth it for our patrons because I've heard like Divine and other libraries that sometimes your patrons can wait up to 6 months for one book when you have the physical copy that they can check out. So that's why we didn't want to go into that system.
I'm sorry, is that like a licensing thing, like you're restricted to how many books can be checked out digitally?
That with the way they figured it out, it's the lifespan of an ebook is like 12 checkouts. So we have to purchase it again from that company. And it wasn't really worth it because you're gonna buy Patterson books cost $100 a piece. And you're budgeted $1,000 for that, but you're only gonna buy 10 books. So that's why we didn't go with that. It's like $1,500, it's $500 for the service, and then $1,000 is for books. But you're not guaranteed that book because it's a consortium with all of like 30 other libraries. So whoever gets it first, it's first come, first served.
I mean, talking about purchasing books is looking at the postage that you've only spent $63.16. We got budgeted $1,200. I mean, I'm just looking to shift an extra $1,000
Right.
over to purchase books as opposed to
We usually,
postage.
we do postage because we also have a program called interlibrary loan where we let other libraries borrow from our library and we borrow from their library. We lend more than we borrow. And so I tried to put it down to where it's 1% of our books, because we were doing 10%, and I kept going to the post office like twice a week, and I'm like, why are there so many books? And another librarian pointed out, you have too many, your percentage is too high, you need to change it to 1%. So we marked it down to 1%, and now we're still lending more than we borrow, but it's, a lot of libraries don't have the collections, everybody has different collections.
Yeah, I'm just curious on there about the postage. We've only spent $63.16 on postage.
No, we spent more than that.
Mexico.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we
It
spent
could be
more
in
than that.
Mexico, because she pays for all of her stuff off of that credit card,
Mhm.
so it could be a Mexico.
Yeah, because
I would say she's closer to 1,000,
Is that office supplies, maybe
maybe,
materials and, I don't know.
or it could be all, looped in there for books for the library, if it all came on the same, Amazon. She ordered a ton from Amazon. So if it looped it all in there, they had all got coded to there, I have to look, it may not have been itemized out.
Anything else on that one before we go into the actual wages for the library? Let's go ahead and make those adjustments. So next, we can take care of that. Anything on page 21 on the wages? Anything we need to talk about?
How are you doing on staffing?
well, right now we're out of body. She's gonna be out all week. She's having surgery, so it's because school has started, so it's a little slow right now, but it starts to pick up. So I'm hoping that maybe we can get another body in there. I don't know, maybe next year.
Yeah, it won't be this year.
Yeah, hopefully next year we can get a fourth person in there, at least it's a part-time position.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the salary increase for those positions. We're not gonna be offering a salary increase from the previous year.
We did,
Mhm.
so,
I don't see it.
yeah, based on the notes, if you can look on there, it says the library reflects a $50 raise. They went from, I can't remember what Jill was making, they went up like $3 or $4 in the pay.
So they went higher than the 5%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so basically they were the ones that we were bringing up to 15,
They were
bringing them
like
up
at
to the
12
minimum.
and, like 12, and I think Joe was, one of them was 14.19, I think. So he took everybody up to the 100, or 13.19.
Okay, council, we're at 8 o'clock right now. Do you want to go ahead and take a short break?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a short break. Paula, you can go ahead and show us at 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute. Appreciate it, thank you. right, Paul, if we can actually go ahead and show us back, it's 8:11. We'll go ahead and jump right back into it, and I think where we were
No, we're Lynette.
waiting for Lynette. Oh, never mind. Excuse me. Waiting for Lynette. I think our next one that we have is gonna be the animal control. So, animal control.
You went to go get a dog real quick
Just begin, right?
for everybody.
So,
Yes, control one.
You did too? Oh!
you got recruited? Is that what it was?
That doesn't look like animals.
They're fast.
You coming or?
You wanna go? Check?
Just plug it in right now, so I took it out.
Oh.
I made it 20, I did it for the, I made it 20, you know. I haven't done much this thing now.
I know.
So I'm gonna be down.
I'm good, thanks for asking, appreciate it.
It did say.
5 years.
I said, can you go get me one?
Slush. Nothing like a slush. I'm telling you. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and show 8:12. 8:12, get started. And we were at animal, if we can go ahead and go forward, we're at the animal control services on that page 22. Forward on that one. Okay, council? Any changes on this one from the last time when we had our workshop? No changes on this one. Questions on this?
Yeah, I remember him saying that, vent or something that you. Is that area, is that part of any of this money here? That ventilation that he asked for? Yeah, a fan.
Yeah, I'm not.
So his vent fans are built into there. Santi gave me quotes on this. So the 3 vent fans are built into that $5,000 for capital improvements.
Oh, just.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Uniforms and tire purchase, $0, we got budgeted $1,500.
We have 2 more, we have 2 new employees coming in. So we had budgeted some uniform expense for shirts and stuff like that.
Food for animals, $35.72, we're budgeting $1,500.
So normally, we get donations for the foods for the animals. Santi hasn't had to buy any. He recently just did within the last couple of weeks. I think he bought $800 for tractor supply. So based on that purchase, just in case, I did budget some money in there for him.
Miscellaneous equipment. Spent $211. So we're budgeting $1,500.
That could be anything that he needs in there. He wants to move a vent around to give a better airflow. Some other small projects that he had talked about that he may need materials for.
Repairs and maintenance on vehicles, we budgeted $3,500 last year and we spent $4,095.25 over that.
Right. That's when he got the new van in, he had got some upgrades done to that, some upgrades.
Seminars and travel, we spent $43.04, we're budgeting $5,000 next
So
year.
we have 3 employees, one that would hopefully get her in. And then we have 2 new employees that we are just maybe possibly budgeting some money in there just in case they want to go forward with anything. So we actually have 3 employees.
And what
Or
do
some,
those classes cost? What are those certifications
that, you'll
cost?
have to ask Santi.
It depends on the class, the hotel, and the food, so it depends on how much you're pay for a night for a hotel, depending on the state, 2 or 3 nights. And right now, most of the classes are up in Dallas, they're all, or Houston, they're nowhere near
Vegas?
here.
These classes can't be done online?
No, so we just go in person, not rarely any online courses.
Spay and neuter cost, the budget is $7,500, we spent $777.90.
We have a little bit more than that in the last, I need to code to that. That is when Miss Betty brings in and has the animals moving for the adoption.
Finally, Matt, what What would it cost us to contract animal control services with the county?
Don't know. They did just drop off a contract, but I don't remember what the numbers were. It was so much per month and then so much per animal kind of thing. But it's one of those things is once you took the animal and released it to them, you pay that fee, and then you're done.
Yeah, we don't have to house them indefinitely or anything like that.
Yeah, no, we don't pay for that. I think they did have some stuff in there if it had to be euthanized or something, there was a fee back to the city, but I didn't look much into it.
Is that a big issue why we haven't done that in the past? Because the county is euthanize animals after a certain amount of time?
I can't tell you really why we've never moved in that direction. I just know that that wasn't the direction we moved into.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think, once again, this was a council decision in the past, in the sense of what we needed to do to be able to take care of our facilities and be able to take care of the folks here. I think we have a great animal care and control facility, and I think we actually do a pretty good job. There's certain things that you got to take into consideration when moving into the county and the support that you actually have. Santi, when a county gets called out to other surrounding areas around here, and I won't say which county, but the response time is,
Yeah, sure.
so
Well-
it's a little bit slower, than you actually have. So even if we do a full-time disinvolving, or we actually do a portion of it, I will tell you there is some challenges that go along with that. So even the transfer, the portion of it, I think our city's doing a great job, and we've been recognized about trying to do transfers. Santi, you guys just recently transferred 5
Yes.
animals to Canada,
Yes, they got their Saturday.
so I've been working really good about being able to do that. So it works really good in the sense of what we currently have right now. We are looking at a population problem, and that's the things that you guys are addressing to try to fix that and try to get us where we need to do. But, if you guys want to put it on the agenda, you can do that in the future, but I will tell you that previous councils and other folks in here put a lot of time and effort to the program that we currently have. And it would not be a good thing for us to go ahead and start looking at another direction for us to be able to take care of the pets. So
What does it cost us to transfer animals to Canada?
Take them for transport.
They find the services and they take them.
Who's the?
Lorena, Miss Betty, everybody, they get involved, Melinda. They all reach out and try to place the dogs just to reduce the numbers.
I guess the only cost to us is if it was an employee driving, it'd be their hourly expense, and then do they take a city vehicle or their own?
City vehicle.
So then just that cost. Those would really be your only cost.
Who's taking the city vehicle?
If it was after hours, yeah, but we go, sometimes I try to do it within city hours when I transfer animals. And only the employees are driving city vehicles, that's it, no one else.
For the example, the last one that you did,
I
Santi,
took them,
where did you go?
to Pleasanton.
Pleasanton. So I took them over to Pleasanton and the people picked them up.
Looks like an animal control officer basic course through this one company is about $200 for a 16-hour course.
That's what I'm getting.
I think Texas Academy of Animal Control Officers.
Yeah.
Have you been to that one before? I think.
Yeah, we
That's where I
took
got
people
my
there.
certification from.
To getting.
But they don't, I don't think they have a building anymore, they have remote classes, because the owner had, some stuff went on, so.
You get a lot of calls for like rattlesnakes and all
Lately, no, I have not.
Okay, anything else on page 22? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to page 23. Look at the salaries. Please take a look at the description that Lynette put on there, so you kind of have an idea of what happened in sense of the increases on there.
All 4 positions filled now.
Yes, sir. We have, the director, 2 full-time and 1 part-time.
Can we fix the verbiage then? Because I think you have it listed as the director, one full-time, and it says one new part-time kennel tech at 15 and a part-time kennel tech at 15. We just need to list the other one as a full-time.
Full-time, so the 31,000. Any question?
All right, let's go ahead and move on to page 24. If you can move forward on the slides too.
These are our debt services and what will be due for next year for 23-24 for the $1 million refi bond is going to be 104 with a total of 92,000 in principal and 11,000 in interest. For the for the 8.5 million, it will be 417 with 167,000 in interest.
Can we update these numbers to accurately reflect that they're certificates of obligation and not bonds?
Sure.
All right, any other questions?
I got one question there.
Okay.
For the revenue portion of the debt services, why is that more taxes in there?
That was something that was in before, so. In the past, you had a portion of ad valorem that was paid out of that. It was part of the general ledger workup. In the future, on the 8.5, we do have a portion of ad valorem that will be paid with that, and I will have to expense it that way for the books. Because it's a combination.
Okay, so what is it gonna be a percentage for 23, 24? You know, based on tax rate?
I did it, and I can't tell you what it is. I did it for the the water study, and I cannot tell you, I can't tell you off the top of my head what it was yet. But it'll be important that 585,000 is not gonna change. I'm just gonna have to expense it out for the percentage study. I wanna say it was 170, 117, I'm gonna have to go back. It was just a small portion.
Any other questions? Okay, page 25, water services, 101. Any changes from the workshop?
No, sir.
Same deal with the bond dedicated funds, it's both those bids are certificates of obligation, right? Neither is bond. I just call it what it is, it's two different things. Water impact fees, why are we so low after we budgeted 354,250 last year, and we're.
So I can tell you the reason we were so high last year is we went off the numbers that the developer said they were gonna build in that calendar year. Well, that busted on the second subdivision. So because of that, we're gonna have some major amendments coming in for the current budget year. So we're gonna budget off of more of the knowns that we know versus all their actual numbers. Until the other one starts actually building homes and we know what they're doing each month and they stay steady with that, I'm reluctant in budgeting much more than that.
So what did the developers tell you last year as far as how many homes you're able to build?
Each one said they'd build 12 to 15 per month. All we saw in Saddle Ridge was about 6 per month. The other one was delayed almost a whole year. They anticipate, I'm being told now, they anticipate anywhere between 12 to 15 a month starting next month.
So realistically, the conservatively, you're gonna say, what, half that number? Whatever the developer tells you, put it in half, a third, as far as projections go.
And just worst case, if we just budget more and those monies go to those fundage to transfer from that into that special fund that we use to enhance our water system or do additional upgrades for impact or anything like that.
Okay, any other questions?
We were budgeting, so.
Water acquisition fees, that's another one that's,
Budget low.
Yeah.
but I'm looking at last year's total.
But based on when we did this last year, was based on the max analysis that we could possibly on what the builders told us, and then it didn't, so this year we're basing on a more conservative, scenario. So hopefully, I'd rather put budget low than high.
Any others? Page 26, water services 202. I'll let Cooper change the slide, okay, awesome. Any changes from the workshop on this one?
No, sir.
Okay. Starting on page 27 is on the salaries. Please take a look at that, and honestly, we'd like the council to hear some great news. It just happened last week. Matt, or actually, James, why don't you go ahead and tell them the great news about Robbie?
Robbie passed the C water license exam last Friday. So we got 2 C licenses.
That's a great thing because we don't need to pay somebody to request to have the two that we're required to have. So it's a great thing. So kudos, James, but Matt, I want to say kudos to you. You also were part of this and making sure that we got our folks trained and we got them where they needed to be. So
The good news, he had a bunch of the training already, just so everything he retook was a good refresher for him.
You see
Hopefully
a little bump in salary with the,
I don't know what was built in. He's listed as the public works manager when it's really a foreman, but I think they just show the 5% there. That's all I see.
I mean, typically, when somebody gets a certification of that magnitude, do they get some pay increase?
Yes.
So we had listed.
So we were gonna bring him up $2 more.
So that's figured in?
That's not figured into this number here, no. Unless you've already done that with the, I don't know what you got figured.
So the 52, the 54. That's what I brought him up. What is the 5,200?
Take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to answer the question, that's the intent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wanted him to get it, he got it, and that's rewarded for it.
Yeah, so that takes him to the 25.
When-
25 an hour.
we're at
The 52,000 is 25 an hour.
I don't know what's this, do we know what it's?
So be able to take care of that. Matt, when are we contracted out with the gentleman? Is it month by month?
Month by month. I've already talked to him, he'll finish out this month because he's already been paid.
He was 23,
Okay.
right at 22, 23. So this came out to the 25. When I bought the
So we can actually offset that based on contract, so.
So then I guess I have another quick question. When he tests and passes for his class B wastewater, we talked about another bump there. That's not figured in. Correct?
that was one of the things that we talked
Those were the
about.
last numbers that I got when I met with you, sir, and passed it on. I
So
don't
we
know.
need to take care of our certification folks, to include, we also have with Ashley too.
Well, we have another one.
Yep.
As well, but I think his showed.
So it's important, just like David was talking about, that we actually go ahead and give them recognition that goes along with them actually being able to step up and take that. Because that takes the city the responsibility, so we don't have to worry about some of those things. They're gonna help out.
So Robbie was at 2201, we took him to 25 with that, so I can build in another $2.
So we need to take that. Is it Chris, Matt, or James?
Yeah.
Who is it? Chris?
Chris,
So it is. So Chris is another one that is actually working on the certification of those.
the two of them, they need to fill out their applications. It could potentially, when they test and pass, they'll have Class C wastewater licenses as well. And then we'll figure out which one we want to progress on to the Class C next.
Do we have the flexibility within this year to go ahead and take care of them, or, do we have extra this year in the wages to be able to take care of that, or do we need to just plan
I
out?
don't know.
The money is very tight right now, sir.
So just take a look at it, and then, we're paid off to the end of the month, right?
Mhm.
So, and then you gotta look at the pay period, whenever the next pay period starts after that, and just let's see whether or not it's a possibility. So, but that's some great news, Council. That's great news. We have it all in-house inside of Public Works, be able to do that. So, thanks, James.
What is the cost and, the monetary and the time investment to get people their certifications that we need?
Need 30 hours and 2.5 years of experience. You need about 30 hours. Classes usually, what is it, like 400?
Well, yeah,
You need 3 classes.
they're running because we're part of the TRWA. We can get them for about $250-ish now. The last one I just found was $25, and we sent them off for that one because it was just too good of a deal to pass up.
Now, are we pushing for that moving forward? As
That
far
is
as like new hires, like, hey, look, there's opportunity for growth. I know that we have these 2 open positions. Where are we at on filling those?
Those aren't budgeted this year. Those would be budgeted in this budget year. So once this budget is officially approved, then we can begin the advertisement for those. So that could potentially free up some money moving forward. We've got one open position that we've advertised for and to potentially give a conditional job offer this week to someone.
That one is open right now.
That's open now. These are the 2 new positions the council said they wanted to fund in the water department.
What's out there on the board then, the public works, labor?
That's the current open position we have right now. That was vacated several months ago. We
Sewer?
couldn't-
Where, I'm just trying to figure out where it is. It's not these 2.
We don't, the sewer position, that's one that's already in Public Works working right now.
Which,
We already have those.
so I think what he's asking, Matt, is, and James, which position, or which account is the open position currently open?
One of our advertising.
So, yeah, that one fell, I think we'd have to, here's the issue before. People were paid out of weird accounts. I don't know where that employee that left us, what account, I think he was paid out of the water department, the sewer, I don't really know. I'd have to go back and see where he was paid out of, what department, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But the employees now that we are moving around, we're trying to move into the positions that they're gonna start receiving their certifications and training in. With the exception of your public works director and your public works foreman, they could be certified in multiple disciplines across all aspects. But the other people, as we get them certified, like one employee's in streets right now, if he gets his Class D sewer, he would potentially move to sewer, and one of the sewer people that's uncertified could move out and be paid out of streets.
So
Potentially,
these 2 open positions are the new ones.
yes.
And the one that we're advertising for is gonna be water, sewer, general labor. You're gonna do all of them?
That one is filled in sewer, I believe.
Sewer, okay.
Yes.
That was really, that's
That's
what
what you
Is that what you,
I was trying to figure out.
yes, he's paid out, yes.
So 2 in water, 1 in sewer.
Yeah, and these ones on, that we're looking at,
We're still looking.
those are the open because we haven't even started advertising.
We haven't advertised yet. I'm sorry. We can mark those open, new or something.
Any other questions on slide number 27? Okay, let's go ahead and move to gas services, page 1 of 2. So council, this one, just so you have an idea, and Matt, if you want to talk real quickly, just to remind everybody, this is the one where we had the costs that went up for the maintenance. Actually, it's going to be on the next page, but just to let everybody know, the maintenance fee from CPS went up. This is not one of their top areas that they take care of. I think it's only us in Castroville. Is that correct?
I think so.
So it's very limited. So as the costs go up, it's harder to spread it across different. And you'll notice as we go through this that there was an increase on that.
And that 205, based on their study, covers their cost to run our system.
It was 50% increase.
Well, remember they tried to go up on us last year, but so what we did to make it work is we moved employees out of the gas system and paid one of our lowest paid employees out of the gas system versus higher end people out of it. To just free up that money to cover.
What maintenance work does CPS perform?
Everything.
They come and switch out meters.
If it is in our gas system, they do it, period.
If
We
somebody
don't
calls
touch
in with an issue, we call CPS, they go deal with it.
So I guess, why that drastic increase in cost? Is it the
Because
agency, or they're just going up on their fees?
They weren't covering their costs. When you look at their spreadsheets for all those years, they just weren't covering their expenses to run our system, and they're trying to not be subsidized. They're probably getting, I would assume, other people within the organization was saying, hey, how come we're using, I don't know, another city's funds that we're taking in to help cover and subsidize the cost it takes us to run Lidl's.
After the winter storm, CPS went back and just looked at everything, and it's across the board. And came up with dollar figures. They did a little bit better just to try to figure out how to be able to manage the whole organization. So unfortunately, as they were going through this, gas was one of the ones that popped up, and they just looked, are we really charging what we're supposed to be charging? You know, just like we've had a discussion here about our labor and how much we're charging for permits and other things that are going on, that include everything with the hands that were involved. I think CPS went through that, and that's how they came up with it.
But they do absolutely everything in our gas system. All of our reporting to the Railroad Commission, our compliance, you name it, they do it. Now, I will tell you, talking to our previous gas consultant, there's a lot more things that just got rolled out with the new laws about gas system and improvements that have to be done. So we're gonna have to take a very serious look at that utility and figure out what we want to do with it.
James, you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there'll be another discussion in the future. Try to figure out for the future what to do with that. Okay, but looking at what we have, any questions on page 28? Okay, let's go to move to page 29. That's where you'll actually notice the increase on there. On the CPS gas system maintenance. And James, you don't need anything with training for that, right? You don't need to worry about anything, right? Okay. There's no questions on 29. Let's go ahead and move on to 30. This is with the salary. And I think this was another, Lynette, this was another salary being moved up to 15.
Yes, sir. He was at 11.55.
Any questions on that? Let's go ahead and move on to page 31, and this is for the sewer system, or service system, sorry.
top one, bond dedicated fund, why is that not transferred over when we haven't paid out for the wastewater treatment plant plans? That's what that is, right?
Right, so look at the 1.2, the 1.2 on the bottom.
Yeah, so that needs to be carried over.
Yeah, that's at 1.2, it should be. I put it a little lower because there was something that was added to it on the 1 point, it says 1.23, 213, 1.212, what happened in books. So I put it down there to remind myself I should have carried that 1 point.
I guess it's the same story with the sewer impact fees and tapping fees, the fact that now the phones got built.
Yes.
Interest earned, I've seen these on a couple different things, 7, 8, this isn't the only thing. Why are we still budgeting for that whenever, it's closer to $10 than $1?
For what?
Interest earned on CD.
That's about what's coming in. So a lot of people book, they book every 6 months. So it'd be a little bit more. So she sends them to me every 6 months. You can book $8, $6, whatever, and then it grows over every 6 months. So just,
Okay, anything else on page 31? No? Okay, we'll move on to page 32, this is what the wages. And that one also is the same as presented at the workshop, right? There was no changes on that?
no, so.
On that? Okay. Page 32,
And that reflects the open position that we're talking about.
That's the current open one we have now that we hopefully will potentially fill.
that one we're also bumping up to 15.
That's, yes, okay. Or starting.
Starting at 15. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right. Is that? Anything else that you need to add to this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, council? Any additional questions on here?
Going back to the first page, man,
Yeah.
insert dollar amount of increase or percentage increase, total property taxes from last year's budget. Cover page, right here. What is the,
Go to the
no, I mean, what is, yeah, and there's another thing there, third page. Property, or excuse me, fourth page, this first page first, right? The total taxable value for the city across all 3 counties, we have the certified numbers.
We do have certain numbers that don't have these. We had to have that to get the new tax rate.
It's on our website.
I can grab them if you want.
But yeah, I think it's important that we know what our total taxable value is.
Like, you weren't here, but when my name goes out, that's the day you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think we're looking up these figures to see what that amount is. And based off that, going to page 4, talking about page 4, that little blur at the bottom. So this budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $146,317, which is a 17.1% increase from last year's budget. The property tax revenue to be raised from new property added is $65,466. So the one that was emailed out on Friday was saying something different.
Right, I had the, Matt and I went back and forth on that calculation, and then we kind of clicked on it today when we were looking at it.
So it was like 17 million, approximately, right? The increased value based off last year. And that's new homes built.
That's whatever wasn't on the tax the year before, yes.
Yeah, and so I guess my whole point of asking this is what did the property value increase across the city of Lisle, across the 3 counties? Because, all right, that's gonna make a determination of how
So
much.
our total taxable value of all 3 counties is $260,832,282.
Where's that listed in our website?
It's on our website under taxes.
On the taxes.
Yeah.
That's the certified
That's from, yes,
numbers from all.
all 3 counties. That's what Loretta did for us.
It's right up there on the screen if you want to see.
Oh, there you go. And then there's the new improvement, 16,859,650.
So based off these numbers, that's what we're anticipating with the homes moving forward, 17 million based off just new residences?
I think that, personally, I think that number's gonna go up, and Lynette said when she was talking to Andrew, the financial advisor, he thought that was kind of low. But keep in mind, that those are probably homes that hit during the COVID time building, where that number we thought was way up here and just went way down there. So I think over the next year, we're gonna reflect even more.
I think the next 2 years, we're gonna see a huge change. But based on this, I still think it's a little bit low, but
Because
it is what it is.
These are homes that were picked up as of January 1, correct?
Correct.
So the homes that were built this year after January 1, they're not
They're not on
reflected on there.
Right.
So how many homes in the past year have been built?
We'd have to go back to permits and pull that, we can do that for you.
Not that, look that up. It's in the slides, right?
Anything else? All right. Well, just want to say on behalf of the council, thank you, Lynette. A lot of work on that. Really appreciate it, Matt. Appreciate your involvement with that. Rosario, thank you for helping us clear everything and get apples with apples and oranges with oranges, okay, getting everything set up. But council, thank you so much for taking the time and going through this. So with that in mind, we have an action item in front of us, is to consider and act upon FY 2023-24 proposed budget. So I need a motion for us to go ahead and act upon the proposed budget that we have in front of us represented.
I move that we accept the 23-24 budget as presented.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? You have a second? Okay. Any further discussion?
We're accepting it as is, or we're incorporating the changes that we talked about tonight?
I think we're incorporating the changes that we talked about.
I think David has to amend this.
Okay, I'll amend it to say we accept the budget as presented along with the changes that we proposed during this meeting.
Okay, amended recommendations. Got a second? Okay. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. All right, with that in mind, it is 8:50 right now. Did I go? No, I think we're just taking care of this portion of it, and that's it. We'll actually put the next, whenever we go into the next phase of the budget, and it'll automatically be part of the schedule. Just taking care of that. Okay, with that in mind, it is 8:50 right now. Do I have a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn?
Yeah, I move that we adjourn.
A motion in the floor for us to go ahead and adjourn. Do I have a second?